Hello and welcome back to Live Now with Veenu Keller and Chuck Hogan. We want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and her network on Zingo TV's channels 250 and 251. Zingo TV is a free app that can be downloaded on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire Sticks, Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So tonight, Chuck and I are really excited to bring you this topic because I think it's something that we all go through, and it's really looking at um, what we need, what we think we need, and how we get what we want, and how people think they're synonymous, and they're really not.
No, they really aren't, Venu, and thank you so much. It's interesting. So often people, in fact, we hear this all the time, right? We ask, well, even ask our kids, so what do you want? What do you want to eat? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? It's like, wow. And yet there's this underlying metric that we really need to understand and appreciate, and that is it's not about what we want, it's about what we need. So you and I have had this discussion so many times with folks, and we'll go, okay, so what do you need? Well, you need air, you need water, you need food, you need shelter. And the human condition is that we actually need love and connection as well. There are so many people though that are willing to go ahead and sacrifice everything to chase wants.
Yeah.
And how often do you find that your kids, when they've seen something that someone else has at school, or they've gone and visited, or they've been on a party, or they've watched television or any advertisements, especially during the holidays, how many wants come up?
A lot.
And how often?
All the time.
Ah, so it's like, wow. So what's the measurement on wants by comparison to needs?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I was just talking to a client today who I must say, he's younger, like he's 13, 14 years old, and he wanted an electric bike. And his parents, well to do, they definitely could afford it. But they said, no, you have to pay for half. So this kid, well, all his friends got it for birthdays and Christmases, everything was given. They were standing true to teaching him the value of that is a want, not a need. And if you want it, then what are you going to do to get it? And so he did. He worked, and it took him months, and he raised the money, and he paid for half, just like his dad. And it was not just the bike, the helmet, everything, right? So then I was talking to him, and now his friends are getting new bikes, new electric bikes that go faster. And so now he doesn't want his bike. Now he wants a new bike. And I said, well, how's that going to work out? Well, I'll just sell my bike and I'll take that money, and then I'll earn the other money and I'll get the newer bike. And I'm like, so your bike is literally 2 months old. Like, you just got it. I said, do you remember that feeling of working for it and what that felt like to you? And he's like, oh yeah. And a big smile came on his face. And I'm like, so what happens to that? He's like, well, I'll still have it because I'm going to get a new bike. And it's all because his friends are getting new bikes.
Yes.
So he, at that age, really does he need it? No, but in his mind, he does need it. You know why? Because while they're going faster and leaving him behind, he won't be able to catch up. So in his mind, it's a need. To us parents, it's definitely a want.
Yeah, perspective is everything, right? And so when you're the one going, well, you have a bike, it is 2 months old. You're like going, the paint hasn't even tarnished yet. You don't even have enough dirt on it to call it used. Look at, you still have the little rubber things that are hanging off the knobbies because it's so new. It's like, what are you talking about? And that perspective, it's kind of like when you see kids with shoes, and there are some people who are like shoe hounds, and I go, oh, but yeah, these are dirty already. I'm like, of course they are, because it rained last week and you decided you're going to wear your brand new white tennis shoes out in the weather. Hello. So, yeah. But, Dad, it would really be nice if I could have a nice new white pair of sneakers, because that would just really set my outfit off. And I'm like going, what would be really nice? It would clean the ones that you have.
Right.
And so there's this perception, and perspective is everything. I was reminded that it's real easy to become jaded when all your needs are being met at the highest level. And so if we think about that for a moment, Vino, and we look, as at our audience, we go, okay, what are you missing? Did you go to bed hungry last night? Did you sleep in a bed? Did you drive to work today? Did you have money for fuel and food? And you wore a beautiful outfit today. Your hair is, done, and your nails are did, as they say. And you're just looking fine with your beautiful self. And you're like going, I'm feeling good about me. Well, that's a very 21st century problem.
Mhm.
And I'm reminded that there are some people in this 21st century that didn't have a bed to sleep in last night, and they have a huge need. There are people that stayed at a halfway house last night because they don't have a home. That food, they're relying on someone providing them with a hot meal. That life doesn't feel so filled with wants as it is hunger pains and needs. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer and go that route. Appreciation is kind of one of the monikers that sets apart what we really need by comparison to what we want.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's lost on any of us. I know that you and Brian have had such beautiful prosperity, and you worked hard for it. No one's handed you a thing. And I love you both for that, that you are self-made and self-built and self-sustaining. And then I'm also reminded too that sometimes we're not self-sustaining. Sometimes we need a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes we need someone else because I have a need to connect with another human being that understands and appreciates.
I think you bring us into a whole nother level of what needs and wants are. I think most people, especially in our population,
Mm,
being in America, not really a third world country, um, we forget that the need and want doesn't come from money all the time.
right.
I remember, you know, when I could have had money and I would still be lonely in those moments. Like money did not make the loneliness go away. And money is a tool. It's a tool in life that we definitely need. Like there's a need for it to get what we want, right? We use the
Yes.
need to get what we want. And yet, what about emotionally?
Oh,
You know, it's really looking at what is it that you really want, and is it your need? Like we could even say food, right? Um, so speaking to my husband Brian, he loves watching these reels on different things about life, and our kids have ADHD, and he sent me this reel about red dye in food is a contribute to um, ADHD and you know um, other behavior issues.
yes.
So I am going like, okay, red dye, throw out, red, throw out, throw out, throw out. And my kids are where at the grocery store, like, oh, can we get? I'm like, nope. I'm like, I'm a label reader now. Nope, nope, nope. And but we need those. No, you want those.
Mm,
What you want, what you need is food. And this is food, but it's not nutrition. So you don't need food, you need nutrition.
right.
I mean, because you think about it, they will, the people who have eating disorders and they go into a hospital, they
Mm,
don't shove food. They put a feeding tube to get the nutrition in their body. It's not the food they're lacking, it's the
exactly.
nutrition that they're lacking. And so, again, it's really looking at the want versus the need and how we as parents, because I'm big on this parenting thing, have set our kids up to not know the difference.
True. And there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of energy and motion that's attached to the meaning that's given because we're all meaning makers. So when we start to go, oh, but you don't understand, I need it. And I was like, going, okay, are you going to suffer because of this? Are you going to perish because you don't have what you consider is necessary?
Mm.
Mm, I don't know that that's the truth. So, what is the reality? And I go, well, the reality truly is that we have some nuances that we need to help under. And I just want to make sure, is my sound volume okay? Vinu, can you hear me better now?
I can.
Okay, good.
You're
Sorry.
doing
I was getting some reminders that volume was an issue. So I just want to make sure that for all of our viewers, they could hear us clearly. So part of this is that when we start to identify that when does a want become a need? And can a need be a want?
Yes, and
No.
yes, and
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely, right? So you brought up a point earlier, which is they're not mutually exclusive and they're not tied to one another either.
Yeah.
So I need transportation. I want a Ferrari. Now, with a family of five, probably not the most practical pick. I mean, unless you're like going, well, I guess I could strap the three kids to the roof, but it's a two-seater, and my wife and I look really good. I don't know if the accoutrements on the roof rack are going to look that good. My kids might be a little warm, little windblown, hair everywhere, bugs in the teeth, but we'll get there in style. Now, unwrapping them, unstrapping them might take about a half an hour. Why do I go there? I go because that's not even the cards. That is completely a want, and in fact, it's kind of fabricated in a fantasy. Now, when we're empty nesters and we're rolling in the dough, and I go, okay, now look at all the conditions that come along with wants. Needs are things that absolutely enhance our life. And I know what some of you are thinking, that Louis Vuitton bag could really enhance my life, Chuck, and I want it when now. That's great.
I like mine.
Yeah, I know. My Julie loves hers too, and I'm not going. And so I'm not throwing shade at anyone. I'm just saying that if you needed something to hold your lipstick, your makeup, your eyeliner, your lip liner, your wallet, your keys, your purse, I get it. And it doesn't require a $3,000 handbag that has initials on it that's printed on vinyl.
And
Now,
everything's made in China.
so the harsh reality is that is a huge want. But here's the difference. How does it make you feel?
Yeah. And I just want to add something like, and here's what's great is that people think like, oh, if it's not a need, I can't have it because I want it. That's not true. What would you love? Like,
Exactly.
go and create what you would love and not put, and you said something like it's the conditions we put around it.
Yes.
And that really stops us from really getting what we want, and, if you could afford it and you worked hard and you wanted that Ferrari and you had a family car and you had your Ferrari, it would definitely suffice for the need to get to work and you earned it. And that's great. And celebrate it. And every time you get in that, like you said, how does it make you feel? Does it remind you what you went through to get it? Like, I love my Toyota Sequoia. You were one of the first people I called when I got it. I was like, oh my God, I did this. I did this. I did this. And every time since then, when I get in that car, I'm reminded of the lives I've touched, the people I've supported. It is just a reminder that how grateful I am.
And that is such a huge anchor. And this is where we say, can wants actually help elevate and fulfill needs? And the answer is yes.
Mm.
It's like you get to choose, are you going to live your best life or are you just going to live life? You're going to survive it or are you going to thrive in it? It's your life. And so you need to live it. And I go, well, but there's different ways of living it. There's different ways of being in it. Are you going to be your best or just do your best? They go, oh, all these cliches and these soothsayings that you're throwing around, Chuck and Veenu. And it's like, no, the truth is the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that you can comfortably live with. So if that's the case, and we're living this uncomfortable lifestyle, I go, then I know you're growing. I know you're growing because you have a need. And your number one need is to expand and to learn and to live. Ooh, living's a lot different than surviving.
Mm.
A lot. So what the universe has provided all of us with is this opportunity to flavor it and spice it the way we feel we need it. Is it Mississippi masala? Is it hot and spicy? Is it savory and smooth? Is it sweet? Is it cold? Is it cool? Is it just, soft like a chiffon texture? What is it for you? Is it rough and tumble? I go, no, I want it gritty. I want to get into this thing. Awesome. And none of it's right or wrong.
Mm. True.
The variance with a need is that it actually enhances your life.
Or the quality of it, right? Like we were just saying with food, nutrition. Do you want to live a longevity? Like, then we need to give you the nutrition that your body needs to live that long and the exercise you need. And, when people are like, oh, I can't afford to exercise, you can't afford to get outside and go walk.
It's imperative. It's imperative. And people go, well, it's like the saying my brother once told me. He goes, I lift weights, but they're so darn heavy. And I'm like going, okay, come on, really, dude? And he was being facetious. He goes, no, they are heavy. And the point in being is, though, is that what is the result that it gives you? What is the
Mhm.
feeling that you have when you actually put, and here's the difference, an intentional stressor on your body where
Mhm.
you are focusing. You want your butt to lift? Guess what? Do some leg lifts, do some squats, do some, leg curls, do some leg extensions. I can go through the whole repertoire with you right now in 10 seconds. It's a 5-5-5. You're gonna do 5 sets and you're gonna do these 5 exercises, and here you go. Let's get it, people. Why? Your rituals, your routines, your habits that you develop are there to fuel you and feed you. In fact, they're there to help elevate you. Some people have a need for consistency. Why? Without it, they go, ooh, it's anarchy.
Right.
I need a schedule. I need a commitment of time. It's like, awesome. And so what does that mean to you? So, well, what it really means is that maybe you need to slow down a little bit and not get so stuck in process and doings all the time because you go, I need to work. I go, yes, work foolishly, work intelligently, work productively. Are you enjoying your work? Here's what I found out. A lot of people find that they need to work because they actually find that they can thrive in it. They put so much time and effort in cultivating their skill. See, because we were told a fallacy a long time ago, and that is do what you love. Just do what you love. Oh, okay. Some people just love playing video games
Yep.
till it becomes a job. And you know what happens?
They lose the passion for it.
They don't love it as much anymore because now they're being pushed. They have a timeline. They have to perform. They have to be at the top of their craft. That's the only way you stay ahead.
It puts a responsibility on it.
And with responsibility comes what?
Well, it comes a lot of things. It comes pressure. It becomes competition. It becomes, there's a right or wrong. Am I going to be the best?
Yes.
And then if I fail, there's a fear of failure that is attached to responsibility.
What will my reputation be?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like when someone becomes a movie star.
Here's the bottom line: judgment is attached to responsibility.
Without question.
When you are just, excuse me, playing a video game for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it makes you feel good to win. Yes, it makes you feel good to beat people. Not literally, but I play Super Mario Brothers. I always save the princess. But if you told me I was going to get paid to do it and I had to save the princess,
yes,
all of a sudden the pressure's on. Now I'm going to be judged. What if I don't save her? What am I going to still get paid? Did I just waste my time? And that's it. Did I waste my time? Well, before I even had this job playing, I was sitting there for 6 hours trying to save that princess. It wasn't a waste of time, but now all of a sudden it's a responsibility. Is it going to waste my time?
And other people's restrictions, because now they have rules that go along with your success, especially if they're paying you for the measurement and the perceived value that you provide to them now. And they're like going, wait, what? It's like, okay, I'm paying you to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
So have you gotten slovenly in your approach? Are you as sharp as you used to be? Do you still have the edge? Are you still Tommy the pinball wizard? Or are you like the guru of pixels and that you're able to play Donkey Kong and Asteroids and Centipede and all the, it's like, okay, wait, this is a little bit crazy. Where are you going with this? Why are you touting all these archaic games? Okay, if it's Stream or Roadblocks or, Minecraft, then I go, because more modern stuff that my kids got involved with. And it was fun till it became competitive. And even in the beginning, when it's competitive, when you're winning, like Charlie Sheen winning, that's great. What happens when you're no longer the best? Oh,
You want to stop.
some people do.
Or
Other people,
pushes you.
that's right. And this is where you go, oh, I have a need. And this is where we go back to values and rules. I have a need to elevate. I'm not giving up. I've never given up. Okay. At what point in time do you ask for help? At what point in time do you ask for coaching or strategizing so you can get better? So if it's in the case of soccer and it's Samuel and he's like out there and he's like, I'm trying to learn how to do this scissor kick. Mom, I just can't get it. I just can't get it. And you go, you know what, honey? I happen to know a guy who is one of the best scissor kick expert in the business. And he's going to show you exactly the approach. He's going to show you the vectors and body position and speed and agility and timing and what kind of ball that's coming in that you're receiving that you're going to have volley it into the net. Wait, what? He's going to give you perspective. He's going to help you with the skills, but he cannot help you with the drive. He cannot make it happen for you. He can support you with it. And that's why we call them a mentor strategist that helps you go further, farther, faster in a way that's sustainable. And yet there's a common denominator. If you don't feel like you need to improve, you won't. You won't. And change will happen with or without you.
Mm-hmm. I always tell my kids and my clients, I can't want it more than you want it.
Yes.
And I think some people don't even know their needs. I think that some people have this desire, which are just their wants, right? The love of like what they want, and that they forget what their needs are. Here's what I'd say about that though, is that when we're getting what we want, is it taking care of the need as well?
It can be a proxy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people who will daisy chain their needs, or excuse me, their wants, and say it's a need. So it's kind of like people desire love and passion, and they'll settle for connection. So
Yeah.
it's like for some people who will just date frivolously and they're like going, oh, yeah, I'm in the dating scene. And they just jump from person to person. And in fact, they'll even sacrifice the most intimate parts of themselves and just throw themselves, give their body, give their passion and even some of their purpose just away because they want to feel like they belong with someone. And they're getting their wants met. Oh, well, they take me out to dinner. Oh, we go out on occasion. We take little trips together. It is just spaced enough in repetition where it feels like it's a relationship. This
Right.
happens in marriages as well,
It sure does.
where people aren't dating, they're coexisting. And it's like, oh, well, we're in the same house. Huh.
Yeah. Eduardo said, when you fulfill your wants, but the needs are forgotten.
Mm,
Absolutely. I mean, that's spot on. That's exactly, because like he says, like we were forgetting our needs because we're driven by the wants, and the wants suffice for the needs, but it's the quality of our needs that aren't getting met.
I know some people who collect cars and they're like, I was like, how many cars can you drive? Like, you have 15 of them. Oh, yeah, but I can't get rid of them. I'm like, oh, well, they're just sitting there. In fact, you had to buy a whole nother building so you could store the cars. And then they're all on battery chargers and they're wrapped in bubbles. They literally pull them into this canopy that pulls all the dust and everything out of them. And then once a month, they start them. The key's hanging up on this little board, and they go over and they take the key and go over there, and it's on a battery tender. They make sure they start it to get all the oil and everything running in it. They take it out of the bubble. They unzip it. They run it for 10, 15 minutes, and then they turn it back off, hook the battery charger back up, turn the fuel off, and put it back in the bubble.
Why?
Because it's more valuable. And if it has fewer miles and it hasn't been driven a lot. And I go, oh, so it's an investment. And they go, yeah, that's it. But yet when they drive it on the street, oh, they feel like $1 billion, not even a million, $1 billion with a B. And they go, to your point earlier, I love how this makes me feel. But they have 15 of them. I'm like, so what do? Put them on rotation and you change them out like your underwear? Hopefully that's a daily thing. Please. And so they're driving them really often. No, they don't. So I go, why does someone then go into collecting wants? Collecting them. And I go, do you need it? Do you need them? Do you need transportation, or do you just want these trophies and tokens for yourself?
Well, then you're feeding the ego, right? It's the feeding the significance. And again, that's not right or wrong. I'm not here to judge.
Right.
It's really about, having your wants fulfilled. That's amazing. If you have the ability to fill your wants, that's great. I think, Chuck, what we're saying is don't negate your needs
Yes.
at equality. You know,
Yes.
if you need air to breathe, find quality air. I know that's hard nowadays. Get a little oxygen tank.
It
But
can be.
I mean, what are your true needs that you need, and what's the vehicle of meeting those needs?
Right.
Is it quality?
And we're not saying that being a collector is a bad thing. We're asking why. Why? And if it fills your needs, you're like, I just feel full. I feel pride. Uh, I know someone like again, this guy bought the car that his dad had as a kid, and then he refurbished it. His dad's long passed, but it's a remembrance, a keepsake for him. And he goes, just the memories that I have of being a kid and being in the back seat of this thing, and now I own it. And
I
now
mean,
when I drive it, I feel my dad, and I go, that's beautiful.
yeah.
That's beautiful. So again, and no judgment. There just comes a time. I mean, who's to say Imelda Marcos was wrong for owning 10,000 pairs of shoes? Not me.
Wow. He must have had a great closet.
She did. She was like the a ruler in like was it the Philippines or Thailand? Anyway, my point in being is it's okay to acknowledge that you have these desires, and that's really what we're talking about. Is the human condition is that we are seeking to meet an emotional connection. And sometimes the brain will say, well, what you want and what you need are the same things. In fact, many people we know use them synonymously.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask them it very intently. So, what do you need? What is it that you need in life? What is it that's an absolute must for you? And they go, oh, a must. And they go, well, I want this. I said, that's not what I asked. What do you need? Because to your point, you need food. Some people that we know that are really uber elite athletes, they call that fuel. They
So I guess my question, Chuck, and I'll present it to you first, is that so we both have done Tony Robbins. We know he talks about the 6 human needs:
yes,
certainty, uncertainty, loving connection, significance, growth, and contribution. So if
correct.
those are our 6 human needs, and say significance is my top need,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do whatever I can to be seen, to be heard, to feel good in front of people,
Yes.
feel good for myself, because significance is really your worth. Like, how do you feel your worth? Um, so is it bad then to have those 10 cars? Because if my need's significance, I'm actually fulfilling that need with the wants.
And everything comes at a cost.
Sure does.
And so,
That's why I bring this up, right? Because if those that know these human needs, you can Google it. But it's from Tony Robbins, and we would say that those are our needs that we focus on.
mm-hmm.
But when you say need, I think of need of like I need air, I
Yeah.
need water, I need nutrition, which you just said is fuel. Like those are my needs. The need to be loved and touch. Like they've done studies on these babies
Yes.
that are born in orphanages and they don't get touch, and how they have that reactive attachment disorder and stuff because they don't know touch. They don't know that. And there are failure to thrive even when you're not touched.
Correct.
So it's shown that touch is a need.
There's perception as well, and that is that some people's significance is derived by they believe that other people will think they're significant if they pull up in a $450,000 car.
Mm.
And yet, some people don't care. They can go ahead and flash a Pantera or a Rolex or a Patek Philippe watch and go, hey, $600,000 watch. And they're going, great, what time is it?
I don't know.
And it's like, interesting. Why? The brands only have meaning that someone have attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Louis Vuitton only has meaning because of a brand that people have attached to it. So does that mean that the fake Louis Vuitton is not as worth as much from a branding standpoint as the real Louis Vuitton? No. In fact, I would say, who's the more foolhardy? The person who paid $500 for a polo shirt or the one that paid $29 for a polo shirt? I don't know. Does one feel more significant than another? Quite possibly, because what they're attached to is the amount of money that they paid for it by comparison to the brand. So was it really about the brand?
I'm all about deals. So I just like, I mean,
I
that's what
love you.
lights me up.
Well,
I-
and so you bring up a great point, and that is we're not saying anyone's right or wrong. What we're really asking is that are you feeling fulfilled by your decision to chase your wants in lieu of needs? And we're not saying that that's the way life has to be. I actually believe that there's this thing called harmony or synergy that people are seeking. And
Mm,
in the pursuit of meeting needs, that people will stair step their way through their wants to get to fulfill a need. So, what do I mean by that? We can use health and vitality as an example. So, people want to go to the gym as their outcome is to feel healthy and thriving and fulfilled. It's like awesome. Does that mean they get it perfect? Does it mean that they're there already, that they're done cooking? Because here's what I know about working out. If you stop, there's this thing that called regression and atrophy. And most people don't get stronger when they're not working out. They have a tendency to decline. But if their need is to feel fulfilled, healthy, and vital, that's a different driver and motivator than just looking good in your jeans.
yeah.
That could be a great byproduct, but if that was the only outcome, then you could have plastic surgery to achieve the exact same thing. You'll just spend about 10 grand to do it for the Brazilian butt lift that you had to have. And will it be sustainable? And I go, will you be more healthy and vital? Will you have more energy? Will you be able to run further, farther, and faster? Will you be able to perform at a higher level? Could you do the Spartan, challenge? I would say possibly not. But boy, you look good in your attempt not to do it.
Right. Right.
So why? We have a lot of fake precedents that have been put out in front of us, and these little devices, as brilliant as they are, have become kind of a noose around our neck too. Yes, we stream to social media. Yes, we are trying to put amazing content out so people can actually expand their minds. Yet there are people that are like going, oh, well, this is how you do lip fillers. This is how you, so it's like going, okay, real or Memorex? This lip gloss will make you look amazing. Quite possibly. How does that look when you're sleeping? They go, well, why would you say that? Do you need it? Or is it a perception of want that when you're out in public, that it's going to give you everything that you need? And as someone who is a very naturally beautiful woman, Veenu, I know a lot of times you wear a very light amount of makeup. My wife is the same way.
I don't wear any.
See?
I'll be honest. This is it. But you know why I don't? It's because I don't like with my integrity, I don't want to look one way. And then when people see me out in public, they're like, who's that? Like, and not know, like, this is who I am.
Yes.
This is it. This is the best I got. When I'm on stages with bright lights and everything else, again, very minimal.
No, that's
Very minimal. It's just so it's not all washed out, but I look the same.
Yes.
Like I look exactly the same. I was just watching a thing today on how to contour. And I'm thinking, would I want to do this every day and put this white thing down my nose? And I'm like, I wonder what I would look like. Like, how do they get those noses look so skinny? Those are my questions. But then who is this person under it?
Right.
Who is this person under it?
Well, how many times have you seen these people when they do an extreme makeover
Oh,
and they do their makeup and you're like going,
is that them?
no. What? And then you see these reveals like movie stars, they go, they went makeup free. And you're like going, oh.
Like, you don't even recognize them. You're like, what?
I'm like,
who is that?
Does it hurt? Are they okay? Because they don't even look like the same person. And it's like, oh no, this is runway ready. And then this is real life. And I go, wow.
I look at it this way. I wore enough masks in my life.
Thank you.
Without the makeup. And to be free of those masks, why would I want to put another one on? And we had to during COVID, and I couldn't wait to take those off either. So, like, I chose to stay inside because I just refused to wear masks. Like, I wasn't going to do it. I'm going to stay inside.
It's funny you say that because they say the windows are, are kind of like the openings of the soul that you can see the soul. And I made eye contact with so many people during COVID. And because it was really one of those ways, And then I realized it's like, oh, all you suckers that did Botox, you couldn't move your eyebrows. You could, there was no facial expression. I mean, it's like excited, happy, depressed. It was all one look, and I'm like going, wow, okay. So
So one of the ways that I personally, for our listeners, when because I'm sure people are wondering, like, well, how do you know if it's a need or how do you know if it's a
mm,
want? So for me, I look at a measurement tool. Like whenever I'm looking at making progress, what's my measurement tool? When I'm looking at is it a need or a want, what's my measurement tool? My measurement tool means will I die without it?
yeah.
Without
Mm-hmm.
air, I will die. Without water, I will die. Without proper nutrition, I will die. Without my husband, I would feel like I would die, but I would not die. Although he does fulfill my needs in many ways. Like he brings me water.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but still, it's again, that's my measurement tool of my true
Mm.
needs.
It's beautiful that you say that. I remember when I was young, and this will show my age, but I wanted a GI Joe with a kung fu grip. True story.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I wanted it. It was like, man, I really want this thing, Dad. And it was the cyborg dude, so it had like a little glass thing behind his eye, and you go, dee, 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 dee,
yeah.
dee. And so, and my dad was like going, okay. And I said, but Dad, I really need it. And he goes, really?
Mm.
Interesting. So this was for Christmas, and I just thought Santa brought everything that you ever asked for, of course. I must have been like 5 or 6 at the time. And I'll never forget what he said. He goes, so if for some reason Santa couldn't bring it to you, would it just change your life if you didn't have it?
Mm.
He didn't say, do you need it? He didn't say, do you want it? He knew I wanted it. He knew I didn't need it. He goes, but would it change your life? And I thought about it and I go, well, I guess not really, but it would make me happy to have it. And then my dad asked probably the $1 billion question at the time. It was back then, so it was probably worth 100 grand, but it's $1 billion today with inflation. And he said, how often would you play with it? And I thought about it, and he goes, every day? He goes, or every day till you get tired of it? Or every day till you die? And I was like, well, in the beginning, I'd probably play with it a lot, Dad. I go, but I'd say probably in a couple months, I might not play with it as much. He goes, because I asked Santa for a bike as well. And I asked him for football cleats, and I asked him for a basketball, and I asked him. He goes, "I know Santa's like been wondering where all these wants came from." He goes, "Because you have a basketball, you have football cleats." I go, "But yeah, but not new ones." And he goes, "I know." And yet, would it change your life if you didn't have new cleats? Would it change your life if you didn't have a brand new basketball? Now, here's what the amazing part was. We got about 50% of the stuff that my brother and I had asked for at the time. Why do I go there and share that with you? Because my parents really made a note of the things, and they go, well, where do the kids spend their time? Well, they play basketball every day. He's playing football because he enjoys it and he's fast, and so we can see the cleat thing. The GI Joe, but we're getting them bikes because now they'll ride everywhere, and it's going to give them a sense of freedom and independence. Little did they know that 2 weeks later, both my brothers and my bike would get stolen. But that's a different story for another time. So why do I go there? What you said was brilliant in that would I die without it? Would it just absolutely just turn my world on end? And there are times, and we've seen kids that are throwing a tantrum, and you're like going, the world is just collapsing. The sky is falling. This is nasty. This doesn't feel good. I don't like this. I didn't sign up for this baloney. That doesn't mean that you need it still. So, what's a question you could ask yourself? If I don't have it and I don't get it, will it change the quality of my life? Now, if you go, hmm, if I'm getting it and I have it, and oh my gosh, I can't imagine living life without it, that could be pretty compelling. I love this. So, oh, this comes from my beautiful wife. Could one person's needs be another person's wants?
I mean, I think so.
I would agree.
I would absolutely think so. You know, again, just with, if I need good nutrition and
Hmm.
my husband wants good nutrition, like he really like I don't like arugula, but he likes it. Um, it definitely could be a need, like it's fulfilling a need,
Right.
not my want, not making that very clear. Um, but it's a want for him. So we would have it. So that's his, so his want is being fulfilled, but my need for proper nutrition
Hmm.
instead of the iceberg lettuce. And now with everything bio medically engineered or whatever, whew, I'm a label reader now. I'm telling y'all, I'm a label reader now. Um, it's like that is important.
Yeah.
That is important that we're putting great nutrition in our body. Like you said, it's the fuel.
Yes.
And I mean, if you have a car and it says you need super unleaded and you put regular in there, your car is going to die sooner or later.
Yes.
It cannot run on that. And that's the same thing we're doing because we think that we want food and it's quick and it's easy. I know I'm guilty of it. Um, but what do we need? Are we getting what we need out of that food?
Well, I'm reminded, and this will strike a chord with some people I know, that you don't need tres leches cake.
Oh,
You you want it. And so why do I go there? The truth of the matter is that you don't need sugar. You may want it, you may desire it like nobody's business, but I'm telling you right now, you don't need, the glass of orange juice that actually has more sugar in it than a fully leaded Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, but it's good for me. I got it with the pulp and everything. And it's like, okay. And yet you don't need it,
Right.
but you desire it. So, how do you fill the need, i.e., how do you feel the emotional connection to what we perceive that's going to fuel you more? So, as someone who watches his blood sugar, I wear a continuous glucose meter. I don't need carbohydrates. I need good nutrition. So, why? If you're going to fuel your muscles, put in them what they need, not what you want, which it might not be the eggplant parmesan. It might not be, the In-N-Out burger.
Hmm. I know you like that In-N-Out burger.
So you just go animal style instead and you leave the bun and you just wrap it in lettuce. You can have it. The difference is are you being resourceful? And so you have choices that you get to make. We all do. So you don't just tell your kids flat out no, unless it's something that's going to hurt them. You go, okay, let's see if we can find a compromise. Now, Veenu, as the child whisperer, I know that you know how to negotiate through these things better than 99.9% of the people on the planet. And there are still times when you're like going, I'm having a battle with an 11-year-old.
All the time.
And it doesn't get easier.
No.
I thought as they get older that
Chuck, we were just having this conversation the other day, my husband and I. I was like, you remember when they were like 2 and they weren't talking yet? And we just couldn't wait till they talked.
You thought all the babble was cute at that point.
No. I don't know what I was worried about. And they picked up the gift of tonality very well.
And
very well.
And intensity and timbre.
Yes.
And then the facial expressions, I was like, ooh, animation.
Let's just say the apple did not fall far from the truth, my daughter and myself, with the facial expressions. We definitely don't have poker faces.
Yes.
Not us. But back to the point that, again, this is not what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. It's identifying. If you know better, you can do better. If you Especially what I see with like young parents out there, young adults out there, and they're just coming into fatherhood or motherhood and they have this relationship and they want the good things because they've grown up having the good things.
Yeah.
And now they realize that you can't have all the good things, even though you want to try. And they go get credit cards and they go and get loans. And it's like they just dig themselves a deeper hole, not because of the needs,
Right.
because of the wants.
Yes.
And I wish that I could have heard this show that we've done today
Oh,
back when I was 18, getting married to my first husband, you know, having kids, because I didn't know the difference. Like I literally thought like fulfilling my wants was my needs. And it was a means to an end, and I got what I wanted at times and it felt good and I loved it until I didn't. Like your dad's question, I love that because I just asked my son that too. Like, he's making his Christmas list. And I said, you've circled all this stuff in this nice Toys R Us Walmart thing that they just happen to send with all full of toys, right? And I'm looking at what he circled. And I said to him, how long until they find a home in one of your bins that they never get to come out and play? And he's like, well, I played with it again for how long?
right.
Until it's no longer fun and you're bored because it's not talking back to you. It's not moving across the room on its own. You can't control it.
I saw this beautiful exercise and I thought it was so cool. And this mom and dad go, okay, Johnny, you get to pick 3 things. And we're going to have you rate them 1 to 3 as to which is the most important that you need to have. And you can only have 3. So they said, why? He said, if I put a restriction on it, now it forces them to discern how it's going to make them feel when they look at this. So little Johnny went back and forth and he was like, oh no, this is a 1. No, that's more of a 2. This is really the 1. And then he went back and forth. And this went on for days. And his dad said, okay, Johnny, we asked you on Monday. It's Friday. What are the 3 things? He goes, and this is all I get, Dad? He goes, this is what you get to choose. It's your choice. So pick wisely. And he started and he goes, you have 5 minutes. And after that, what you choose is what you get. And don't regret it. So he did. Turns in his little sheet, circled the ones he wanted, 1 through 3, but crossed out multiple times over. And it's the following week. And Johnny goes, can I change my mind? His dad goes, nope. You get to have the experience that you decided to have based on what you picked. And that was Johnny's first exercise in needs versus wants. And he'll learn the lessons from it.
I love it. What a great way to end us tonight, Chuck. It's already been our time. We are there. And it's just been great. Like, I think this conversation is much needed, especially with Christmas coming around. It's a great thing to teach our kids.
Yes.
Gratitude. And I know that, I go crazy on Black Friday. I love it because I love deals. I love deals. And next thing you know, like there's more and more gifts. And then I have twins. So it's like, oh, I got him 10. Now I got to get her 10. Oh, I got her 11. I got to get him 11. And next thing you know, it's just way too much. And this year, my husband and I said, like, you guys are getting 5 things. You'll get 1 big thing. Here's a price range. And you get 4 other things. And here's the price range. And again, it's kind of like you get to choose. That's it. Like you get to choose the experience that you want. And I love that. I love that example you get. Because I think it's a great thing for us to help our kids start to understand the earlier on that we could teach them wants versus needs.
Yes.
The happier I feel like they'll be in their adult life.
There'll be less comparison and a lot more appreciation. And with Thanksgiving being the holiday right before Christmas, we all have a lot to be grateful for.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Live Now with Veenu and Chuck. Follow us on Instagram at Veenu Inspires and at Chuck Hogan Now. For more about myself, you can visit venuinspires.com. And for Chuck, check out yblnow.com. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.